Hello there everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of my tutorial series for Dwarf Fortress. In this one, we're going to dive deeper into the actual development of a fortress, and diving deeper is also a good word because we're going to dig today a little bit deeper, and I want to talk a little bit about the general things that will happen to you around this phase of the game, because we are right now at 45 people, 50-ish, and that's where we're slowly starting to leave the early game of your fortress. At this point, you should probably have made your thoughts about where and how your industries will be at, and what you're going to do with your fortress in general. And therefore, I want to analyze the environment of this fortress a little bit and hopefully give you a couple of ideas and thoughts what we can do and how you can adjust your own positioning there, because things are every time when you fire up a fortress completely different. There is no such thing as two completely same fortresses, and my goodness, those are valuable beds. Let's check out the most valuable one. And all in all, we want to see how we can go here deeper into the whole business and how we can expand a fortress meaningful. So that 400 bucks bid is going to be put in here into the temple. I know that's a little bit weird, but obviously enough, it works. So there we go. Just need to remember it's the older bed with the many stars. It's got to place down the correct bed. So it's this place is 700 bucks now. And let's see what'll happen once we slam in that bed. Also, we need to start engraving this place. Here we go. Bed installed, and guild hall is now 1,000 bucks. So sometimes these buildings, they don't need to make sense when you put them in, and I somehow find that quite tragic. But at the end of the day, it is as it is. I'm putting a little more valuable items now into my bedrooms for the regular dwarf, and that is by no means anything like a waste or an overexpended thing. I personally like to give my dwarfs some really good furniture, because that makes more happy thoughts, and that makes it overall easier to accommodate your folks, you know. So we still have to put up 1,000 bucks in there, and the easiest way for us to pull that off will be to help ourselves to more gemstones to get more encrusting done. And therefore, let's go a little bit downstairs and talk a little bit about the fortress here in itself. But before we go downstairs, a little bit upstairs. So one specialty about this environment here that I haven't talked about much when I started out is that we have quite the access to sand here. Sand is on many spots, and there's some gemstone here, so let's mine that out. And that means glass industry is on a good footing here. We have so much sand. We can dig out sand here. We have a little bit of a sand cavern there. There's sand on many fronts. Sadly, on this level, this looks like usable clay, but silty clay loam, the problem here is the loam. It's not processable for the ceramics industry, so we don't have access to ceramics here, sadly. I would have loved to, but we don't. So we also have aquifers here. We could probably find ourselves something on this level clay-wise, but it's aquifer-ridden, and here we have the end of the aquifer, and here we start entering a shale level. What's really important to note on that level here is the stupid amounts of magnetite on that level. Did you notice that? If not, now you should notice that. There's so much magnetite here, and that's all iron. That means this fortress has no scarcity in iron. That is a thing that you should really note, because that means we have a really nice abundance, so we can work with iron on many levels. When we go on down there, well, we haven't dug out too much of that level, but since it's shale like that one, so the chances are we will encounter limonite and tetrahedrite and similar metals on this level as well. Since this level is going to is supposed to be our aristocracy level, we will find out what's happening here sooner or later as well. On that level, we have a little bit of military. We only have found out that there's some mudstone here, so there's a lot to discover here. And down here, we have already found some limonite walls. Since I want to make this place here, so more or less my burial level, I didn't touch too much. And down here, we have already dug around a little bit. And here, this is a very boring level. This is a typical boring level until we have found this. So there's native platinum there. So there's a huge value in that. Platinum is among the most valuable items, metals out there. So we definitely will dig that out. And that brings us again to a new opportunity. We have platinum. So we can either build rooms with that, do statues with that. This is an opportunity. Down here, we have also noticed that there's a cavern. That means we have now access to the cavern system, one way or another. The thing is, check out elevation -12, and if we zoom down there, well, we have already 10 levels down. So all in all, we have to dig down really, really deep until we find the bottom of this thing. Those were more than 50 levels of elevation until we hit that cavernous, that rock at the bottom of this chasm. So whatever we find there, it is not that easily accessible right now. That's all we can say for now. We've also found a similar chasm like that, but they don't really get us anywhere. We can, of course, now dig deeper here. There's more tetrahedrite. That's copper metal, and here we have some more gemstones. Let's go for the gemstones. Right now, I'm very, very hungry for gemstones. Down here, we have a layer of dolomite. Dolomite is a flux stone. We can use that for steel production. I have already mined out a lot of the dolomite, and, well, we can mine out even more. The layer does end here at some point, but we are going to do, as the first new thing here, that we are going to carve down a few more levels. So what does this all say us for now? This fortress has an amazing abundance of metals. The basic metals like iron and copper are in insane amounts available, but what we don't have available that much is silver. We have so far found silver only in the form of tetrahedrite, but tetrahedrite is actually a pretty good source of silver because you can use this for quite some tricky operations that I'm going to introduce later. But what that means, we can alloy. We can alloy like crazy. So first of all, I want to get on over here into the work order tab, and I'm going to keep the limonite and magnetite smelting orders alive because neither limonite nor magnetite have any deeper usages in alloying. So it's okay to smelt them away into bars whenever we can. The other things here, like tetrahedrite, though, I am not going to auto-smelter that, because we can make really, really interesting and nice alloys out of that. So the next thing that I want to make sure is I want to make sure that we have another smelter, because it's about time that we do. One smelter is hardly enough for all the things that we have on the tab here, and I also think that my storage for bars was a little bit small. So the fortress here is at the point where you typically during a run have to decide where to go with your current fortress and what your specializations will be and what you will focus most into. Because by this point you have a lot of workers available. You will have more workers available in the future. And, well, we don't want a monster hunter here, thank you. And all in all, we can now go for, let's call it the real deal, you know? So next level, we've struck tetrahedrite, but we've also struck dolomite. That's a very, very nice site. So let's mine that out and get ourselves a picture. So in this fortress, for example, I think I want to introduce you guys a little bit deeper into the wonderful world of alloying, because we have so much tetrahedrite available. The thing is, with tetrahedrite alone, we can't do much alloying because we will need other metals like tin and nickel and zinc to make real interesting alloys, but we should be already able to do one thing or two. So I dug out that little cavern here, and let's get down another level. I want to give it myself a little bit of a round trip here. So we got some chalcedony here, and what's really important when you go for a round trip like that, don't go too greedy. Just go for 2 or 3 levels below the situation where you dug out most of the stuff, and check on out what you will find there. There we go. Also worth mentioning, I took a lot of effort into walling off any access to these chasms. That's mostly because I know that there are flying subterranean dwellers. And if you don't wall off things like that, these guys will find a way to fly into your fortress. And that sucks. So wall them off, seal them off, take them under control. It's really important. Okay, so it looks like we got mostly these metals available. There were no new novelties there. We found more and more dolomite. All right, so well, let's work with what we got there. So that also means that our fortress has now basically its style and its identity. We're going to work a lot with iron and these things. And when we get on over to the smelter, I want to build a new smelter here, one that we will operate more or less exclusively for the stuff that we're introducing here. Also, I want to, let's make this like that. I want to make a steel smeltering ops as well, so let's carve out something like that. All right. In the meantime, let's check on out if our furniture has grown more valuable. The bookcase here is growing quite nicely, and the more different gemstones we allocate here, the better. Basically, as you see there, we got various new gemstones supplied to that one. All right, we got the smelter down. Great. So we can make already Billon bars. Billon is a mixture of copper and silver, and the real cool part is, well, let's show you here. Billon is made out of silver and copper. Tetrahedrite is an ore that contains silver and copper. So when you smelt down one portion of tetrahedrite, you will get mostly copper and just a tiny smidge of silver. The fun thing is, if you now take a recipe that wants equal parts of copper and silver, like 50% silver and 50% copper, for some odd reason, you can put 2 chunks of tetrahedrite together and do the magic, and suddenly one of the chunks that actually does not contain pure silver is handled by the game as if it would contain pure silver. In easier words, you can fuse 2 tetrahedrite chunks together and they produce a ton of Billon. And Billon is actually originally meant as a currency metal, but the currency system is right now not really implemented into the game. It was not, well, it was not as it should have been, and all in all, it is Billon is a metal that is of mediocre value, but since this recipe of fusing 2 pieces of tetrahedrite together is so darned efficient, it does not only provide you with here a lot of Billon bars, as you see here, 2, 4, and 6. It also gives you a lot of monetary increase, because 1 bar of Billon is worth 30. So we got 6 bars worth 30 bucks each, so value of 180. And if you check out the tetrahedrite now in its raw form here, 1 chunk of tetrahedrite is worth 9 bucks. So if we do the math, we put chunks worth 18 bucks in and we get metal worth 180 bucks out. We increase our yield tenfold, and that's the joy of alloying, you know. So that's just massive. I love it when things work out like that. So what's the alert here? Oh, we have a thief here. So sadly, we will not really be able to catch the cobalt thief So, let's see. Don't know what he stole, actually, but, I highly doubt that even if I'd be assigning my fighters now, that I'd be able to catch that guy. It is as it is. Filthy thieves. Thieves. Alright, so how's our military squad going? As we see there, they're still lacking chest pieces all over the place. That's a little bit of a sad situation, because, yeah, well, if we check out our soldiers, sorry for being sidetracked here, but I find that a recurringly annoying topic. So if we check out our soldiers here, this dude has pretty much everything on his thing, but no chest piece. When we check out our armor stockpiles here, though, there's tons of chest pieces there. So why don't they wear their iron breastplate, you might ask yourself. I haven't found out for myself for real. That's something I really didn't understand so far. What I did notice, though, was whenever I manufactured new pieces of gear often enough, at some point they picked it up. I mean, here. When we get on over here into the details, we have specified that we want an iron armor. Any iron armor would suffice, and they're not picking it up. I mean, you can't here really specify to the very to very exact amounts. So sometimes you can select uniform replaces clothing, and that solves out the issue. And here in this regard, it did. In case you're wondering why the hell that happens, this is because the everyday clothing the dwarf wore before was obstructing his chest. So like there was just too much everyday clothing above that piece of armor, and there seems to be a limit of stuff a dwarf can wear before it's too much. So it helps. If you notice that you have the gear and they're just not wearing it, just select replace clothing, just a thing on the side. So we can now make also bronze bars that would be... We seem to have some tin. I don't know where, but we seem to have some cassiterite ore. Let's see. Stones. Here we go. So that's always worth checking out what you got. So we have 2 chunks of cassiterite. That's not really enough to say that we would want to produce a lot of bronze with that, because basically we can make two processes and then we're done. I'm not that interested in that. More interesting would be to process the tetrahedrite altogether into Bilon, because we can this way transform the tetrahedrite into something very valuable. So let's put up a work order for that. So not smelt tetrahedrite. So we make Bilon. Here, make Bilon bars using ore, really important. The ore recipe is the efficient one. The bar one isn't that interesting. It doesn't give you this insane increase of value. So we're only going to do this if we have more than, let's say, if we have more than 10 of these copper-bearing stones. That should be okay. This way, I'll be only processing into Bilon the tetrahedrite, which exceeds over 10. That's so far a good thing. Okay, so let's get on down here. I could now explore this level a little bit further, but I will, well, probably, yeah, we're going to go on here. And at this point, I'm basically doing 2 things. I am exploring what I can find, and I'm expanding my base at the same time. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep up with the requests of my dudes there. What's most important right now is that we keep the apartments coming, because there's one thing that is for sure: there's gonna be more dwarves incoming. You know, there's just gonna be more dwarves. You can be damn sure about that. So because of that, we're going to go for a different approach this time with the buildings. We're going to carve out the entirety here, and we're going to build a new apartment block from the scratch. So this is also a valid thing to do. Just want to introduce as many different ways of doing the same thing in this series as possible. The good way, or the benefit when you expand like I do here, is that you will get to decide for yourself what materials will be used, and you mine out everything there. As you see there, we're getting more magnetite out there and more tetrahedrite as well, so that's pretty good. And I just noticed that we can make some fun here. So I also noticed that there are gemstones. We're going to set on up some fake clay industry. You might ask yourself now, what am I meaning with fake clay? The thing is, we don't have any gatherable clay here. Silty clay loam is not gatherable, but I did notice here when I was looking through my stones tab, I don't want to scroll all over that, there's kaolinite. Kaolinite is, as a matter of fact, a quite potent material for ceramics, because out of this stuff you can make porcelain, which happens to be the most valuable form of ceramics out there. Our sources of that stuff might be limited, but there's another cool thing about that. We can use that for the porcelain, but the kiln also allows you to glaze items. So what's the deal? I think you can also glaze stone items. We are producing a lot of knickknacks made out of stone, and therefore the kiln, as we see there here, glaze clay and stone crafts. That's an amazing thing to do. I just want to introduce what happens if you do that. We're putting somebody on an endless repetition for now. That's not a healthy thing, but I just want to introduce it real quick. So you take 1 bar of ash that can be used for 150 items now, and that now can be used to put a value increase of 50 bucks on the item. So check out the shale ring now, it's worth 14 bucks. And by the magic of glazing, takes a moment or two. By the magic of glazing, we've made this thing worth 64 bucks. That's amazing. That's just 150th of an ash bar. Alright, you need coke for that. You do use fuel for that, so take care that you're not destroying your coke resources with that, but we do happen to have quite a lot there, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to make ourselves here a nice thing here made out of, where is it? Billon? I want to make myself a Billon statue, because we still have to staff out those rooms here. That's another really important thing. Also, let's start constructing a new apartment block. This is also a fun way of doing it. Although I personally don't like to construct the apartment blocks because there is one really obnoxious thing about it. 2, 4, 6, and 7. So we go 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're going to go super crazy here. Come on, we're going to make this place an iron bar apartment block. So the problem now is you really have to leave open the blank spots for the doors, and that's just where... Sure, I can make this happen, so I cut out the most annoying parts there already, but then you still have to put up the blank spots for the doors, because as far as I've seen, you cannot overwrite the wall with a door, so... Yeah, we have to leave those blank spots open. That's why I personally love to dig out the apartment blocks rather than building them, but I just wanted to introduce that because this gives you the opportunity to make things look exactly like you want them to look like, you know? that's just sculpting on the next level, because we can now go on over there and let's install doors. Oh, by the way, you cannot install doors if they aren't if there aren't walls around it. And also another really annoying thing is we got to suspend constructions on these corners. I will explain to you why in a second. All right, that should save my dwarfs from doing something dwarfy. All right, so jokes aside, we're up making us a Billon statue, and here we're glazing the hell out of our jewelry. Losing track of my words there. So let's watch that building block here get completed. Isn't it a beauty? I really like how it looks. So the thing here is I suspended the construction of these walls here because for reasons unknown, your dwarfs love to not build the centerpiece. And then, you know, they can't build diagonally, and then they lock themselves out, and things get really, really annoying. And, you know, for some reason now he can build diagonally here. Most of the time they can't. Anyways, so that's your artificially carved thing there. So we have a new artifact in the making. Let's see what that'll be. I hope it'll work out. In the meantime, we have struck lots of different things there, it says. So we have gotten ourselves... Yeah, all right. It's always worth checking on out what your dwarfs are finding there. And here we went for a tetrahedrite vein, and look how deep that went. Jeez. All right, always worth checking that out. And here we are at the clothier's shop, so... Let's hope that my dwarf will find everything he or she needs. So it's looking good though. Alright, so keep also in mind that we've just created ourselves quite the luxury apartment, because this place being made all out of iron, and oh boy, please don't mind the asymmetry there. I really feel bad for what I did there. But jokes aside, this is high quality housing if you do it like that. You can, of course, use something less fancy than I did here. You can also just use stone blocks or whatever. That's really also no problem. But I figured I wanted to do it like that, for once at least, to show you that these hand-carved apartment blocks, their biggest advantage, in my humble opinion, lies in the fact that you get to design for yourself how they look like. And you get to carve out all the materials out of the mountain there. This is really, really awesome, because this means you can make sure that all the stuff there gets used. When you check out these other apartments here, some rock crystal was left behind there. There's lots of tetrahedrite in these walls. There's, okay, cinnabar is not usable. Here's limonite. That would have been usable too. There's lots of magnetite here. And refined materials, walls made out of refined materials, are just more valuable. You don't lose anything. Hey, look at that. Finally, the farm plot from the last episode got finished. I'm proud of you, folks. So we're going to let those quarry bushes grow. We need them later. So, where was I? Yeah. But all in all, this way of expanding your living areas is in my eyes way more work intense and not necessarily paying off as much as you'd want it to. And here we're going totally ham on that cabinet. All right, so we're going to place down the bookcase there, because I want to finish this place here. I'm running out of time. I only got 1 year of time, you know, and therefore we got to work there. The items I am using are a little bit low value. I could be receiving... Oh, nice. We made ourselves a artifact llama wool vest. We could get ourselves much higher results if I'd be not that impatient, because the more gemstones you encrust, the more valuable a thing grows. So that's also a reason why I wanted that Vilon statue, because that thing is already unencrusted, a quite valuable thing. That's the cool thing about statues made out of higher value alloys. We can now just tickle up the value of this place by just slamming down unencrusted Vilon statues. That's a thing. And we got basically permanent access to that stuff. We got as much Vilon as we want to. There's so much tetrahedrite down there that I really don't need to think twice about getting myself some Vilon bars there. And that's only the beginning. We can now, if we get lucky, we will find even better things down there. So let's see what we can find while we're mining. And now we are already knee deep in the essence of Dwarf Fortress, you know, because we're already exploiting the mountain quite heavily, and we already have to be very careful. Basically, this part here and that part here, if I wouldn't have been walling them off right away, this could have been already quite the problem. You know, we could have already had a bit of an invasion going on for us. You never know. It could have been the case. That's why it's really important that you take care of any opening into your city as quick as possible. And by the way, let's pick up that native platinum. This will give us some sick monetary value as well. So let's check out the place here. We're well, it's almost there. We need a little bit more. Okay. Well, let's put down the shale throne in there. So I really love the fact that you can put down various items of furniture there and just increase the value of these places this way. So Vilon can, of course, be used for other things, too. You can make cabinets and all manner of different things. Here I'm spamming statues a bit because I know that this increases the value quite nicely. We could, of course, also build pedestals, or how they're called here, displays, to display things here. So you needs display objects. So let's check this out. Whenever you don't know how to make something, make display case. So we're going to check out how that's working, what we're needing. So plant logs and windows. So this is a bit of a bigger industrial thing. So we're not going to take that, but this way you can always check on out what you require to make something happen. We're going to craft some display, but not now. So let's check out how this place looks like. So why did that throne not go into the value? Well, we can then remove it for some other. Odd. The bed did count, but the shale throne didn't. All right, whatever. So with all these things, we have now defined that our fortress will have its future in the metal industry. So we're going to focus into that in the upcoming episodes now harder. That's going to be a great journey, but for today, we're going to end it here. We achieved now a lot of new opportunities to make things happen. And it's really important for your own place that you check on out what you can do there. Why the hell is this not increasing in value? Anybody know? Anyways, so we got all we require, and we're going to churn out more of that stuff. In the next episode, I'm going to go over a bit of the things that we can do with that metal a little bit more in detail. I want to check on out if we can't find other metals as well, so we can explore some of the other alloys as well. And of course, we're going to go deeper soon, because at this point, we got pretty much everything we require. I'm going to forge down some steel gear soon, and then we're going to see where this will end. And before this episode will grow longer than it already is, we are a little bit on the on overtime today. I don't know, it happened somehow. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'd be really happy to hear from you folks. Feel free to drop me a thumbs up on that video as well. I'd be really happy if you did. Also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side, and a playlist link is found down below as well if you want to check out the other episodes of this, be my guest. And of course, consider checking out support links. I'd be really delighted if you did so, and see you guys next time. Big thanks to the supporters out there, and we'll see each other in the next episode. Bye bye.